Okay, so
No chit chat.
we're gonna begin our roundtable, and so the the roundtable is the challenges for cybersecurity conferences part 2. We have met here exactly 1 year ago, exactly same set of people at PHDays 10 to discuss pretty much the same problems. But back in the day, they were new for us. We all struggled. We all found a way to get over our struggles. And now I want to get like post-mortem of what have we learned? Have we learned anything actually or not? But I would like to start with the introduction, because 1 year later we figured out that there is no bio on the website. So it's good to have in recording the introduction of each one of you. I think I will start with Igor.
Okay, now my name is Igor Lukic. I live in Spain. I have a conference called Hackron. And my background is, I think, like 99%, we start when we're kids, get in the underground space, whatever, get in trouble, and learn about technology, learn about the hacking scene, get around, meet people, thanks to the conferences like this. And my background just pushed me to make my own conference. And I don't know, just get into the geek space and die there. Because it's once you get in, there's no way out, I think. So that's my background.
Then the first on the screen is Asim.
Hey everyone, I'm Asim Jakar. I'm the co-founder of a cybersecurity company called Paya2. So we have 3 pillars in the company. One of them is conferencing, where we organize 2 cybersecurity conferences, Nullcon and Hardware.io. The other one is consulting, where we do security assessments for IoT, embedded cloud, and yada, yada, yada. And the third one, which I look after, is the products. So we are working on 2 cybersecurity products. One is geared towards automation for security assessment of IoT products. And the other one is scaling up fuzz testing for native and managed code applications.
Dylan?
Hey guys, Dylan here, founder of Hack in the Box. I think I'm probably one of the oldest people on this panel. So I feel very honored that they still call the old man back to share his thoughts. But basically my history is that I've been running this Hack in the Box thing for like 22 years, something like that. It's my day job. It's essentially all we do. So we run conferences around the world. We're in Amsterdam, we're in UAE, we're in Singapore. We don't do consultancy. We just run conferences. We have a good time. We run CTFs. Yeah, if you guys like playing CTFs, then you probably played one of ours as well, or you should. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I started hacking such a long time ago that, you know, it was days when a modem was something that people actually knew what it was, right? And now, yeah, nobody knows what a modem is.
Now you brew coffee and make DJing, right?
And DJ, yeah.
1337.
Yeah, I do other things than Hack in the Box stuff, but yeah, on occasion I still run a conference.
Well, then I will say that I'm the youngest from all of you. My name is Timur Yunusov. I'm one of the organizers of Positive Hack Days, and I'm also the organizer and the founder of the Payment Village. So surprisingly, I've been at each one of your conferences over the last 12 months. I didn't do this on purpose, but life needs to keep rolling, right? And since our last talk, you guys all had at least one conference. And my first question is obviously, we were chatting a year ago, hey, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, we're going to have to rebuild this, redo that, reconsider, blah, blah, blah. What actually happened in these 12 months? What was the biggest struggle for you? What was like major accident that you had to go through as an organizer, as a speaker, as a participant of any other conferences? What has happened?
Who starts?
You do.
Okay. Well, I think the worst thing is still to figure out the COVID situation. That's how we call COVID, this thing that for the conferences, it makes everything seem crazy. Because in the other hand, yes, we can have people. Then in my case, they were constantly changing rules.
I remember
Like
that.
the government was like, okay, you can have a conference. The last one that we did back in March, sorry. And we were like, okay, well, can we have people? Yes, you can. 2 weeks later, no, you cannot have. And that thing, at least in my situation, is the worst because you cannot plan accordingly. There's so many things you have to do physically if they're public indoors. It changes the complete background. If it's hybrid, it's another challenge. But in my case, it was again online. So they didn't change a lot. I had to go back to the same thing. You learn some from the mistakes, but others you keep making them. Like the bandwidth thing, we had an issue with the bandwidth. The worst thing we had, keynote speaker in the middle live, because we do it live, which is a mistake by my thing. Why should we do it live? There's so many mistakes can go wrong. So just pre-record it. It's the same experience, and you can even edit it and make it like a Netflix. Remember Dylan Hackflix that we said? That kind of stuff, like make it more immersive. But I still made the same mistake, like just do whatever we did.
And what, and it disconnected?
Yeah, we had a keynote speaker in the middle. The router just went crazy, and we had this delay, I don't know, 1.5 minutes. The stream went down.
But no one still was watching that
fight. Yeah, no, we had, and then you get crazy, and you have to back online, everything freaks out. And I think my biggest mistake or fear is to do it live.
That's why we do everything in recording, just to let you know.
No, yeah, live is a big challenge.
Yep. Guys.
Yes.
All right. Dylan, you want to go first?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, life is a challenge. Life is a challenge, bro. But yeah, I mean, for us, we were kind of lucky because, well, we have 3 conferences, right? So over the last 2 years, everything was online. But at the end of last year, the COVID situation in UAE was improving enough that we could somehow or another pull off an in-person event. It was by no means easy because, as pointed out, the government rulings, logistics, all of those things are constantly evolving from day to day. As in, what's okay today is not okay tomorrow, and then day after that it's okay again. So stuff like that makes it extremely difficult. But we took all the learnings that we did over the last 2 years. So, because we were doing everything virtually for 2 years, we have our own streaming platform. We have our video streaming team is like super locked in. We have a very strong AV team. We know what works, what doesn't in terms of like remote audience participation, how to do the Q&A with like live. We had normally we have a virtual studio. Everything is pre-recorded, by the way. We don't do live talks when it's virtual conference for the exact reason that it becomes problematic. Occasionally, we do it live only when the time zone is suitable for the speaker. Other than that, as in if the speaker is in the same time zone when the conference is happening, fine, you want to present it live because internet latency is probably not going to be a big deal if you're local. But if you're in the US and you're trying to speak in Asia or something, like number one, it's going to be ridiculous for you to stay up. It'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning and like, why would I put you through that, right? Like just record it, bro. We want your best presentation, not because you are live. So what? You're not here. So we never bother with like, getting too caught up with like whether it's live, not live, whatever. But, we took some of our learnings from the last 2 years about what works, what doesn't, which parts you can stream, which parts don't work in streaming. And we took our virtual studio and made it into a physical studio that was centerpiece within the exhibition. We did virtualized silent stages. So everybody stays in one room. So there's all the contact tracing is in one space. I mean, there's lots of small things, but would we need to do it after this? Maybe not after a year. I would say at most, we're going to do these kind of like, physical distance kind of things. It's just for overall people's comfort. But in different countries, people have different level of comfort. You know what I mean? In Asia, we were just talking about it before the session started, that like here people are complying, they wear masks, blah, blah, blah. In Europe, like in Schiphol, you don't, in the airport, in Schiphol, which is to me, is like, oh, that's crazy. Like in the airport, which is an indoor building with air conditioning with so many people, you don't need to wear a mask. It's not mandated. I'm like, different risk, right? I mean, it's how you're going to weigh it. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting 2 years, but I'm more looking forward to what's ahead. I always look ahead. So I'm excited to kind of like see how conferences will change because they have to. The simple reason is that what was last time was oversaturated, right? I mean, there's too many conferences, the experience is all the same. It's like, doesn't matter, you go to Black Hat, DEF CON, whatever the hell, it's the same thing. Why? Right? I've now, because I haven't traveled for 2 years, I've gotten so used to staying at home, right? And that I feel like the inclination to make me go to an event needs to be like something above and beyond. It cannot just be like, yeah, you're going to see some talks, like, so what? Some new 0 day, yeah, bro, get in line. There's 0 days every day.
To watch online.
So what?
Just
What makes it better?
read the white paper.
Yeah, read the white paper. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like you don't need to see on stage. You're not going to see Barnaby Jack level kind of things anymore. People have stopped doing that shit, man.
The
There are no
problem.
more exciting talks. Yeah, people grew up. There's no more exciting talks, right? People come and they have some cool name, but the cool name is not going to wait for the conference for them to drop the presentation because it's a business. They need to make money from the exploit, from the whatever the hell they found, the white paper or methodology, whatever. They'll release it now, not wait for the conference. They might talk about it at the conference and recap, but they would have already released the white paper in advance. There's no excitement, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the times, even the big presentations
I will
leaked.
explain you why there is no excitement. Because technical people struggle with deliver content really well. We are not actors. We're not gonna ever present things in Vegas. Oh wait a second, we actually are, because it's rather easier to go and read white paper to understand what's going on, or read an article from a well-known journalist that will be able to put things in a narrative, than to sit and listen. So I was at NullCon Berlin a few months ago, and I will let you talk about that just like in a minute, but I sit there and I see all these people that doing amazing technical stuff I will never be able to do in my life, but they struggle to deliver the idea. They struggle to keep the audience engaged even in 45-minute slot. I understand that the current teenagers have a 15-minute span of attention, but still, you can create an amazing story. There were guys from Korea, I believe, who was sharing the story how to hack metaverse setups, like different metaverse pieces of hardware, software. In the end, what I've realized, metaverse is just a normal web application, to be honest, yeah. But the story would be amazing, and they were like, obviously they were not their native speakers. English was not their native language, but it's so bad, yeah. Like, and that's why, again, there is no point spending all money to sit there and listen all this mumbling and jumbling if you can go and read the paper or read the article or like listen it in recording at least. If you want to hear the original is always good because it's much better to get the knowledge of the actual author of the research, but just watch it in video, yeah.
I mean, I would say the only, sorry to cut off Asim before he gets started, but I would say the only reason, right, to go is not so much to listen to the talk, but is to meet the author, to meet the presenter. That is something that you cannot do from the white paper. And usually the email address will bounce or some shit, or they just never read it. So if you go to the conference to meet the presenter, you don't go to the conference to listen to the presentation. That's the thing that people have forgotten about. It's like nobody gives a flying fuck about the paper, bro. Right? I want to know what this guy is working on. Or
And then, okay, well, meet and then what? Ask for a signature or what? Or ask a question.
Maybe there's some exploits that I need to buy from you, or I want to sell to you, or whatever the hell it might be, man. Opportunities, right? Like usually there might be something I'm stuck with. Maybe you have some idea on how to fix it or how to solve it. You're the banking guy, for example, right? Like if I'm trying to hack some banking thing, who would I ask? You, obviously. So, it's kind of like for that, right? It'd be easier if I just met you, buy you a beer and say like, can we just chat 5 minutes? You know what I mean? I just got a quick chat. But anyway, Asim, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, if you're going to a conference, you're not going to, just sit down and listen to the talk. You're actually going to, to meet the author and the presenter, because, and as Dylan mentioned, the reasons could be varied. Maybe you want to buy stuff from him. Maybe you're working on the same problem, right? and you're stuck in a roadblock. So you go ask him how's he making these changes and all. And from the on the
We lost him.
Cool. We
I
have
think
to.
Asim. Oh no. Oh,
He got to the point of like the actual answering the question, and they cut it off. The government
These
cut it off.
the
things happen.
government, man. It must be conspiracy. But
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's also job opportunities, right? Like, I mean, if you know somebody who's working in, like, I don't know, whatever, Project Zero, let's just give an example, right? Like trying to get into Project Zero via the like normal route, forget about it, dude. It's just not gonna happen. But like, if you wanted to work, if that's your goal, as in like, you know, your dream, if you're a young researcher and you're like, man, you know, if I was part of Project Zero, I would be like, jeez, I made it. Whatever it is that floats your boat, right? The
then what?
fastest
Then
way
you
to
need
get
to
it.
approach them on the stage and say, "Hey, can I have a job or what?"
No, but it's more of like, hey, I've got research that I think is worthy of Project Zero. Can you take a read? Can you take a look? And if it's not worthy, or if you think that my, you know, maybe the research area that I'm working on, is it something interesting for Project Zero? What are you guys researching on? Like, I'm sure they're fucking, you know, fuzzing all sorts of crazy shit. And so maybe they might look for people who are fuzzing Lua or some crazy crap, you know what I mean? Like, so,
But there is no
you know what I
difference
mean?
if they will approach them via email, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that via email, it'd be like, how many emails do you get, bro? You know how many fucking emails I delete from random nonsense motherfuckers asking me stupid shit? That is like, fuck you, bro. I got no time to answer your question. But if you came up to me and you say, bro, can I get 5 minutes of your time? I got a question. Like, you know, I'm trying to get into whichever market. I'm trying to go into Netherlands. I'm trying to get a job in somewhere, right? I will take my time to answer your question because, you know, it mattered enough, right? Sending an email is no effort, bro. I sent thousands of
Dylan?
emails. It just takes like,
Asim, can you hear us?
All right. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
you
back.
stop
Sorry. Yeah,
like
my
coming
phone
back
died.
to the question, I guess. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So we faced pretty much the same things from the conference perspective. So one of the major decisions that we took for Nalcon was that we moved the Goa conference to end of the year, September, and we decided to go ahead and do one in Europe. This was a major decision, and part of the reason was because of the uncertainty, and we were seeing that Europe was opening up. So when we decided, we finalized, we publish everything, and then we see the number of cases in India are going down and the number of cases in Germany are increasing. And again, the same thing. There's no surety. The rules keep on changing. But I think we were very lucky because things started to cool down before the conference, and you know there were finally we had rules where you could go to a conference without. There was no cap on number of people, and you could, you know, remove your masks or not have masks in public. But on the online side, I think we didn't work on the you know online plus offline mode of the conference. We stuck to offline. And I think it's just another year, as Dylan mentioned, things are going to go back. So there's already too much overload of online stuff like webinars and conference. I mean, even if it is good, I will still not prefer to, you know, sit down for the webinar or the conference, because the whole aim of the conference is to go and meet people, right? Whether it's the author, whether it's, you know, companies or depending on what your aim is. You know.
Just exposure networking. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in fact, yeah, the guys from Payatu, Nilcon, Hardware.io, they probably had the biggest challenge, but they decided to make themselves of just moving the conference to completely new location, yeah, in new country, in new continent. Well, it's like thousands of miles away, not like city within your country, yeah. And yeah, I guess this is the biggest challenge, and it really paid off. Yeah, I've been at NuCon in Berlin. That's amazing. People talks were really amazing. The conference, the vibes. Yeah, I mean the only one thing I personally miss Goa. Yeah. So the second question is, what Igor mentioned, and I completely agree, and you all probably agree on that, is like we see less and less connections between cybersec conferences and what's happening in the reality. Does that mean that conferences exhausted themselves? That like CCC, DEF CON, we got these vibes 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and now eventually it lost the essence because people are like, they just go and do their like hackathon or Comic Con, yeah, just like go see people collaborate, but there is nothing to do with the reality, nothing to do with the threatscape, nothing to do with the whatever. But I mean, I would say that the only thing I can think of before I even start asking question, yeah, exactly what you guys said. At least you can go and meet brands. You can go and talk to people. They're still grounded. This is the only connection I can think of. But like, okay, hacking metaverse. How many people gonna go and hack metaverse? How many people gonna go and do things other people doing? Like, what do you think? What is the
You,
future of the conference?
you're telling the cybercrime, right? Like the reality,
No,
or
not
what?
only cybercrime, but white hacking, black hacking, any kind of hacking.
Well,
What
your
is
favorite word between us as friends is compliance. I think when conferences started to do sponsorships, compliance, and governments and everything, you have to have a very thin line between what the black hat real stuff in the beginning, in the early years. I think in the early years, the conference, like Dilo mentioned, he's like, what, 22 years, you said, or like so many years. In the beginning, there was like a community. And that community, I'm sure, in the beginning, was divided. There were like some people crossing the lines, and at least when I
the
met
lines
someone,
were different. The lines. The problem is there were so many lines. They were
so
so
many
gray.
lines.
Like this is the line. Oh no, this
Yeah,
is the line. This is the
exactly.
line. This is the line.
People were stepping from lines to lines, and now conferences not that are disconnected. Conferences had to make it look legal. They made CTFs. They made speakers and academic people do their researches in demo environments. Nothing is real production. Everything is like aligned to be in that sort of way, and
Yeah,
I
but
think that's lost.
there is other conferences for that talk about compliance, info
Of
security,
course.
EU, like PCI
I don't know.
committee.
At
Yeah, but
least from my point of view, in some part we get lost and you said exhausted. Maybe not exhausted, but maybe you just follow the trend, and the trend is, I don't know why. It's like
business first.
yeah, business first, and it's not very. It looks like you're talking about some illegal stuff. So everybody stays away from that. It's like, no, 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 don't talk about that stuff. We are not here for that. Everybody gets, I don't know. I think it's about compliance. That's my point.
Right. Okay.
I don't know what our friends think about.
Dylan.
Yeah. Why isn't anybody presenting any cool shit like what's actually happening in the underground? Was that your question?
Yeah.
No, the
Well,
question is, do you feel like Hack the Box presentations and the conference itself, or Hack the Box Abu Dhabi especially, yeah, like Cyber Week, don't have any connection with the real hacking
definitely.
whatsoever?
Definitely.
Is that where you were going to stick for the next 10 years? This is going to be cyber conferences for the next 10 years? Or are we going to have this groundbreaking hacking back in the day? You mentioned Barnaby Jack. Yeah. Is it going to be anything like that? Or not anymore? Or not in our generation? Or we'll have to have a next generation to come up and step in? Or what?
Yes. I have a feeling that, so it's not so much that we chose it to be like this, right? As in the early days, we had Pirate Bay, we had, WikiLeaks. I mean, HD more. I mean, if I go back even further, there's lots of people that came about and I presented some crazy ass shit, basically. And it was awesome because there was actually a community. Now there's an industry, bro. That's the main difference. There was no security industry, you know what I mean? There was commercial guys, there was government, and there was us, the hackers.
It's economy.
Right? And then
it's just economy. Yeah.
It's just kind of like how the things evolve, right? I mean, it's unfortunate. It's pros and cons, right? As in, it's not like everything is fucked up. You know what I mean? Just because there's no community. The community evolved, as in it's changed. There's still a community, but it's more that people have jobs, they have vested interest, they have career that they want to plan for, right? They don't want to just throw that shit away by like fucking, dropping some crazy ass stuff without doing it responsibly or coordinatedly, or whatever the hell the new term, politically correct term for, not being an asshole is. But yeah, there's a disconnect because there's the underground, which is still going to be doing undergroundish kind of things, as in whatever it takes to make money, right? If that means ripping off old people and installing malware on their computer, like, I don't give a fuck, man, I want to make money. And so you can't present about that. You know what I mean? You can't present about what that, like, you can talk about maybe hunting them, as in, but that's not as exciting as actually like, hey, check this out, man. I own a botnet with like, fucking 500 million nodes or some crap like that, right? Like, I mean, check out how I built this botnet and stuff. Like, ain't nobody gonna talk about that, man. Like, how they manage to do it, how they maintain it, how they hold CNC controls. Like, why would they do that? They're gonna like, help their adversary. And their adversaries, as in their underground groups that are competing for each other for like trying to secure the endpoints, right? Because it's the way to distribute the malware, it's the way to whatever the hell, do your phishing campaigns, do your click crap for like, Facebook ads and making people, think differently, all of that stuff, right? Like you need control of all these endpoints, right? So nobody's going to talk about that. That's just ridiculous to expect that somebody's going to come and talk about that, because there's no reason for them to do so. Number one, it will be like exposing themselves to crime, which is like ain't nobody going to go to jail. And number two, it'll be giving up methodology, techniques, and stuff that they've worked for years to hone. Right? The underground didn't buy this shit for cheap, man. Right? So yeah, you're asking for something that is obviously not going to happen, because there wasn't an industry. The last time exploits for 0 days didn't have a value. Nobody gave a shit. It's like, so what? You can hack some phone. Like, oh wow, I can install my own software on this, man. I can customize it. Nobody give a fuck, bro. Like jailbreak, so what? What about jailbreak? Screw it. But now your banking is on it, right? Now like your entire life is on it. I jailbreak that shit. If I can put a memory implant into it that can survive a reboot, whoa, awesome sauce, man, right? That's worth money. I'm not going to present it at a conference. Come on.
I see what's going on.
Yeah,
with Nulcon.
agree with Dylan. So the way I see conferences is as a source of inspiration. So they may not be directly something that would lead to the underground coming up with something, but it's more of an inspiration that somebody comes up and says, hey, I found this methodology to do this, see how neat it is, and that becomes an inspiration for black hat, gray hat, white hat, whichever hat the person is, to develop something and how they want to use it. And as Dylan mentioned, unfortunately or fortunately, this has become an industry, and there are a lot of things that have attributed to this. I think I see bug bounty as one of the major game changers in terms of changing the whole community aspect into a fully blown industry where young folks are more inclined towards finding an XSS and putting it in their resume, saying as I found this vulnerability and I'm a bug bounty hunter and stuff. So and people are getting paid for these things. So why waste your time and energy on something else? But what they and in terms of people who are okay to work alone, it is fine, but that's not how humans work, right? We are a community and we will always remain a community, whatever the community is, whether it is cybersecurity or hunting community or, I don't know, banking community, whatever. We need a community to survive. So you can work on it solo for a long time. But eventually you will need to fall back on some kind of a community, and that's where the conferences play a key role. So they will be there. Depends on how the industry shapes up. They may or may not be too much fun in the future, but they will still be there for people who value community. Yeah, that's my take on it.
I want just to add, Timmy, one thing, and to the rest. There are underground conferences I'm sure you guys know plenty, and they're still running. And I'm seeing this trend of not giving the location, not giving people like conferences around are also building on a low profile, not sponsoring. Hey guys, we have this super underground conference. Come and join us. So I don't know. I don't know. I think some people go to there because I'm trying to think and speaking while I'm thinking. They maybe the profile of red teamers, offensive hacking. I think they have more value to be in a community which is more towards this one, and the other full-blown industry in ours conferences. I don't know. I'm just thinking like, why if they exist and there's a trend, somebody wants them to exist and needs this community. The same is thinking. I think.
But again, because it's also business.
Yes.
As much as our business, well, ours is multi-billion, theirs is
Yeah, but
much the same.
no, but they're trying not to do business around it. They're just meet
No,
friends.
I mean, the
Remember
cyber
the old
criminal is
days?
a business.
Yeah, of course. But the old days was like, look, this thing I hacked, and they just show you the laptop. Remember those days? It was like,
And some
like that.
exploits.
Yes, and it change exploits and all this stuff. This is happening. It's not something new. So I think that thing is getting more and more underground thing, just very far from our industry, and it's in parallel worlds. I think they're talking about stuff that maybe we disconnected a little bit. I'm
The
not sure.
status quo has changed. Status quo now is that cyber criminal is just a criminal. Yeah, 30
Yeah.
years ago, it was, is he a criminal? Is that, because there is no special law on that. Now there is, and now the
It's a witch hunting.
establishment thinks, hey, if you violate the cyber law, you go to jail. Yeah, if the well, that's the problem. So the last question, new trends. Yeah, like what is ahead of us? Because what I was really fascinated about is again at NullCon, I believe. No, that was Cyber Week, Abu Dhabi, 2017 or 18, even before the COVID. Adam Laurie started making this radio hacking challenge remote when he had SDR, and it was translating the radio signal from somewhere at his home in England, and he was doing the challenge there in Abu Dhabi using the software, the SDR and network, and sending this all the way through. Now we have CAN kits, where back in the day you need to bring Tesla and expensive cars on the venues. Now the CAN kit fits in 3 suitcases. The same with ICS stuff. The same with Exploit. All these kits are now go and join. And I started doing the same things around payments. Yeah, like online ATMs, special network setup that shows the card payment attacks over the network, all things like that. What is really fascinated you? Maybe what you gonna pick up on new trends? Because I know you are a big fan of CTF attack defense. You wanna. It's always been niche. Yeah, we have done attack defense for years, but it's always been niche. So anything that guys excites you.
Well, if you guys I start, I'm getting in this attack defense. I want to learn more about it because we're still basic in that field. We were Jeopardy CTF. For me, I think CTF is relevant. And if you make something cool around it, it will really bring the attention we were speaking about. Like, why should I care to go there? Of course, you can do SDR remote and you can do CTF remote. Everything can be remote, but some things are better to touch and feel and talk with people.
So I had the photos of people who were
Your
coming
ATM.
yesterday to Moscow,
Of course.
were buying food in the supermarkets. And I remembered how we were doing the same in 2007, like stocking up before the night of the hardcore hacking, no sleep, things like that. Yep.
Yeah, because there's some things in remote you cannot recreate. But
Yeah.
the trend, I think, is just to be creative. I think that's the biggest thing, at least my head is always trying to be creative, trying to be something new because it's content.
So
We
what
spoke
was
about,
what was the most creative things you've come up with?
I don't know, some crazy stuff that didn't work. That's the problem. Like you start
That's
thinking
the
in your
lesson.
head, yes, I want to do this. We wanted to do a weather balloon that would go really, throw it in the air, but we didn't get the permission from the airspace controller. We wanted to do something with the SDR.
We were
Remember?
doing, I remember, so you were putting your logo on a building in
Yeah.
Tenerife. We were spilling out a lot of things between all of us. Like, can we do this? Can
Can
we
we
do that?
exactly? Can
Bringing
we
the ATM
can
to Abu Dhabi.
bring
Did
the
it happen? Well, no, we had
yes?
to take the local one, and that was a disaster. Then I was trying to bring the ATM to Tenerife. That was also a disaster.
But
Import, export,
we brought
Brexit,
a Bitcoin ATM.
Bitcoin.
So I don't know. It's about people need buzz, right? The buzz, buzz, buzz.
Okay.
Like it needs
I was
some
thinking somewhere to travel.
no to ring mod bus to ring a bell to say, oh, I want to see the ATM. I want to see how it works. I want to see the inside. I want to touch it. I want to play with SDR. I never had interaction about it. If you make this setup like you said, mobile, and you just put it in the conference, people can interact with that much. Remember lock picking? You just sit in a table. And there was a person just explaining you lock picking. You start opening locks, and you're like, "Wow!"
Well, yeah, like
all
10
that
years
stuff.
ago, man.
Yeah,
But it's not anymore.
Listen, yeah, but new people are still always there will be new school trying noobs trying to get on board, and we cannot forget about that because then we will just skip the whole situation. I think.
And
Well, maybe
yeah.
not lock picking. You do NFC hacking or whatever.
And that interferes with idea that business first. Yeah, for many people, for many conferences,
course.
like, okay, businesses first, let's do something established. Yeah, where like, hey, I come up with this genius idea, I need a lot of money, and it may not work. Yeah, can you give me money? Who will say yes? For me, it doesn't work all the time.
But I
You
mean,
need
there's,
to have
there's a
a lot of
complete disconnect. There's a commercial conference where they will not do this stuff, and there's some that still have it in the heart, right? You still need to make money, you still need to be a business, but the core value is about hacking community, and it's about talking about that stuff, getting a beer. I think that still needs to be there. And if you lose that magic, it's, I don't know, I just make a security conference with suits and stay there and not do anything about it. It's about creativity, I think.
Yeah.
You can call it ASR, it's like RSA in reverse. It doesn't matter what you call it. If it's just a bunch of suit brothers, like, yeah, call it whatever the hell you want. But, I completely agree. As in the sense that the community and the whole reason to have conferences is, while we think like, lock picking, who wants to learn that? You know what I mean? But at Hack in the Box in Cyber Week, for example, you'll see a lot of young people and students as well. And you look at their face and how much excitement and determination is the key, and you feel there's hope yet for our security community. It's not everybody. It's not about like, oh, I want to sell exploits and stuff. Sure, of course, like majority of people who have grown up, but there's still folks or still kids, the younger generation that are looking at these things and getting excited by wow, this is a powerful thing to learn, this hacking. Because it's not, oh, I know how to press this button or write this script, whatever the hell. It's not so much about that, but it's that exploration of technology, of like wanting to learn stuff, even though it has no commercial bearing. Like we've got all sorts of villagers in our at Hack
I've
the
seen
Box that
so
have no
many
commercial bearing.
villagers in Abu Dhabi on Cyber Week this year. That was amazing. When everything was just set up, I was like, villagers. I was also one of the villagers, and you also were.
Yeah.
We had the oil factories being broken and things like that. Yeah, so hands-on. Yeah, the answer is
Yes.
hands-on, something that excites
Hands-on.
the audience.
Yes, and excites yourself, as in even when you are organizing it, right? Like just doing stages with talk and stuff, it's not exciting, right? But I want to see that oil refinery thing. I want to see the CTF in action. I'm not playing it, but it's still enjoyable to see it and see other people enjoying it. And there's a satisfaction in being the organizer from that standpoint. You know what I mean? It's like, if you didn't organize it and you didn't put your effort and energy and heart into making this something special, these dudes that showed up wouldn't have this experience. And there's value to that. It might not have a dollar value, but you're not born to make money, right? You're born to have experiences, to make your life meaningful. Because if you die tomorrow, your bank balance means fuck all, bro. It means fuck all. It's like, how many people did you touch? How many lives did you change? You know, how many people came to your event and met somebody, and because of that meeting, like their lives are no longer the same. If you didn't organize that conference, they would not have met.
If I'm
You
gonna die
don't think
tomorrow,
about
no
it,
one
but
will
it's important.
notice.
We will.
No,
The
no one will
community.
notice. Well, they'll remember me as a guy who brought the ATM
No.
to Hackron
We
or
will-
Cyber Week.
No.
Are you joking?
No, it's Dylan just mentioned this point, and this is the most important. I met kids who said, Igor, I found my first job in cybersecurity thanks to the conference. And that's the point. And that's one of the points. The other point is business. Yeah, we made business because we met this, I don't know, big company in there or a government contract. I don't know. It's about connecting the dots, and you just try to make the best.
I mean, you all know the company called Zimperium, right? Like Zook Abraham, who is the founder of Zimperium. And Zimperium now, I don't know how many billion they got so far. Like they got like ZecOps is another company that got like listed, and he made it basically, right? I know Zook when he showed up at Hack in the Box, and he had just this concept for this thing that he was going to present on stage in Amsterdam. And he was looking for ideas and inspiration, and he wanted somebody to chat to. And he was like so like, you know, really stressed out because it was his first time doing a presentation on stage, like it's quote unquote big conference, you know. And look at where, because of those opportunities and because he had that presentation and he met a lot of people in Amsterdam, and you know, who knows what conversations were had and where he ended up, right? Like, so, you know, everything has its place, and no matter how big or how small, right? Like, you don't know how things are going to play out. You might think that it's insignificant, like, so what? You had a CTF that some 15-year-old kid had a good time, but you don't know what's going to happen to that 15-year-old kid, do you?
Yeah, so that's exactly my question. What things inspired you? What new trends? Asim?
Yeah. So coming back to the original question about, you mentioned about Adam as well, like making stuff remote. So that was I think part of our learnings from COVID, where you had to do this. So as we all know, the saying, necessity is the mother of all invention. So we had to do something where people could not travel, and people who were there, we still needed to have something like radio challenges or hardware challenges, and that's when you invent these things. So for 10 days, it's the same experience. Yeah, it's just that now instead of having everybody locally, people can do it, manage the village or the CTF remotely as well. So I remember when we started working on one of our products, the IoT Auditor. Bit of shameless marketing here, but one of the things that I wanted to do was to be able to give one device to a user where they could do some hardware stuff and radio stuff with the device, but connected to the cloud. And I think after 6 months, COVID hit, and I didn't realize, holy shit, like if you have this, you really do not have to go to the location. You can just send it to the customer and they can run it, right? So we are enabling things, but at the end, we're still trying to do the same thing, right? People get the same experience, what they want to do with the CTFs. You mentioned the villages in Cyber Week. Like there were villages after villages after villages, and there were people coming, and I think in our village as well, there were people coming, sitting and soldering on their own, and I could see the happiness in their face, because when you've not been out for so long, and then you do the real shit, and that's what is exciting for people.
Yeah. I know, from my point of view, just make new things, don't stop, just not get stuck in this trend, because it's super easy to get stuck.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, now,
back
for
in the
example,
day, we were doing things all over again, and now we had the disruption, the supply chain disruption, and that's what I was talking about exactly last year. We need to use this as a boost for being more creative, for creating stuff to cover up much broader audience without them being on the stage, without them being in person. Yeah, but that's again you have only so much time in your life. So instead of thinking of, hey, 5 years ago you would think, how can I do something on DEF CON with people who are going to come and see me, that they're going to be excited. This year, I will be thinking, how can I not go into DEF CON, do exactly the same to cover much broader audience? You see, the focus is changing. You have the tunnel vision, and we may end up losing the innovation, thinking about broader audience, but not thinking about innovation. That might be the problem. But so far, so good. I really like all things that I've seen over the last years, Exploit, these amazing small boxes that Asim was bringing, guys on Cyber Week coming, hacking things with their fingers and laptops, Hackron, Bitcoin ATM, a lot of things on PHDays. All right, thank you guys. Thanks. This presentation will be live on the 18th. Yeah, I would like to thank all of you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you this year, next year, in person, virtually. Yeah, stay safe, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. And thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.